In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to cast off stitches in rib. So it's very similar just to working normal rib, except we're going to pass the stitches over as if casting off. So going to knit one stitch, then remember to bring the yarn to the front to purl the next stitch. So purling that next stitch, and then I can leave my yarn where it is, it doesn't matter, and then bring this first stitch up and over the second, just as so. This is very similar to a basic cast off, except now because my previous stitch was a purl stitch, I need to remember to bring my yarn to the back, ready to work the next knit stitch. So that's the key to it, it's just remembering to bring your yarn to and fro between the front and back as required. Now a purl stitch to the front, pass it over to the back, knit stitch, pass it over, front, purl stitch, pass it over. One thing to consider when casting off in rib is that generally you'd be using rib because it's stretchy. So if you cast off too tight, then you're kind of going to do away with the function of the rib being stretchy if the edge of it is too tight. So be sure to cast off quite loosely. Make sure that your stitches aren't pulled tight. So normally if I was just working normal stitches, I'd sort of snug this up and tighten it a little. When I'm casting off, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave there. You can see there's some wiggle room there. I'm going to leave that wiggle room. I'm going to continue to the end, casting off loosely. Get to my final stitch, I'm just going to break this yarn and then as usual fasten off by loosening this stitch so it's a big enough loop to fit my fingers through. Poke my fingers through it, grab hold of this end and pull that tight. So you can see along this edge here it's a nice neat edge, but because we cast off nice and loosely, this fabric still has plenty of give. If I'd cast that off tightly, then we wouldn't probably get beyond here, but we want to keep that elasticity. That's how you cast off in rib.